We are recording the Riverside call. I am now recording on Audacity. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. We good?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, welcome back to Ben and MK's Untitled Sports Pod podcast.
Hooray.
We actually made it 2 episodes within the 2 weeks that we had originally planned.
Despite technological difficulties along the way.
Yeah. I just posted the first Patreon episode just in time, like an hour ago, just in time for us to record the next regular episode for me to edit when we are done. So let's jump into it. We don't have a clever name for our little, news segment at the beginning, but since most of it sucks this week, I'm gonna borrow from Well, There's Your Problem for this one. So here's the goddamn news. Well, we're gonna start with the worst and kind of work our way up to good news. The bad news, the worst news is Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealon got into a police chase, crashed his car, and was later found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And that's about all the details we have right now. That's probably about all the details we're gonna get, so I don't want us to speculate or anything. This sucks.
Yeah, and about to say it's one of those things you take some responsibility for some actions and all that, but you just have to wonder, what got you to where, that happened, that there was the police chase, that he chose to do that. You have sympathy and you just kind of wonder what led to that situation. And, that's just sad. And, you know,
Yeah.
even when you find out what it is, there's hardly anything that will make it any different or better for most fans or hearing it or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, even if we did have more details, I don't think anything is gonna make it any less senseless that this 24-year-old kid died.
Yeah, I'd say. It's hard to. Yeah, it's just that, even if there is. Yeah, even, if there's some underlying mental thing or something like that, it's still sad. It's only degrees of how tragic it is. It's something to me, in a situation like this, it's only a matter of how tragic it may end up being, but it's going to still be tragic no matter what.
Yeah. The only sliver of good fortune in there is that the team was on a bye, so they at least had a couple days to deal with it.
Yeah, about to
But that
say.
is that is a very small bright spot in a big old dark one.
Yeah, I'd say, and there's something to be said about the way sports and especially football will go right into the next week, even after something like this. At least a week off, a little bit of time to process instead of having to immediately, game plan for your next game or whatever.
Yeah. Our next story is that former NFL player, he was formerly with the Raiders, I think. Antonio Brown was arrested for attempted murder in connection with a shooting that happened at a celebrity boxing event in Miami. But he was arrested by U.S. Marshals in Dubai.
As expected.
So, I'm curious, did he get to Dubai before anything was filed? Or were the customs just letting that one slip by? What?
Yeah. um, oh, and yeah, I guess he was with the Raiders at one point, but yeah, it was Steelers offseason with the Raiders, and New England and Tampa with Tom Brady, and yeah, just you've kind of wondered about his, mental health for a while, just due to different incidents and the way he handled things, and yeah, it kind of comes. Seems less tragic per se, but kind of comes back to the whole like you kind of wonder what's going on, but at the same time, like you didn't probably have to get into a fight at a boxing event.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify, it was arrested for attempted murder
Yes.
because he shot kind of at somebody. So we'll see how it pans out, if it was like if he was actually trying to murder somebody or if he just kind of like shot a gun too close to somebody, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'll say yeah, like there's degrees and yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. On to slightly better news that still kind of sucks. Jaden Daniels hurt himself real bad. But recent updates have told us that he didn't tear any ligaments, so it's not going to require any surgery. So at last update, he's going to be out for 2 games, which included the one that happened tonight, and then the next one, and then after that they're on a bye. Yeah. So in theory, he should be good to play after that.
I'd say, well, and I almost wonder if you're Washington, at what point do you think about maybe shutting him down for the year just because, what are you playing for? And is it worth risking? I mean, that's the whole thing with all this should he have even been in the game what are you risking, like, at this point?
Yeah, and it's not his throwing arm, so even at its worst, it wasn't necessarily, like, we weren't necessarily concerned it was going to be a career ender, but there was worry that it was going to be a season ender.
Yeah, I'd say it seems like one of the better scenarios, but yeah, like, when you're talking about a season-ending injury, there's, yeah, I'd say it's hard not to worry about what it actually is going to affect, because I always feel like we say it's, it's a season, but, like, how much did these injuries pile up and, affect things over time and, how you do all that,
Yeah, like, maybe it might be a good idea to bench him the rest of the season so that, like, he doesn't become Carson Wentz.
Yeah. I would say, and I think there's 3-7 after today, so I mean, I don't know, like, I'm always for continue playing and things like that, but you're one game, you're almost the Giants at this point, so yeah, I mean, what are you playing for? Can you get into the wild card? It's
yeah.
I would not blame Washington or him being like, yeah, it's we're good this year.
And the one good news is that the Mountaineers won yesterday, and I got to learn that the quarterback is Scott Fox Jr. He is the first true freshman quarterback for the Mountaineers in 73 years.
I'm just surprised that that just seems like one of those things, like, you just would have had somebody at some point doing that.
Yeah, like like, on one hand, I guess it kind of makes sense because, like, maybe you want, like, a sophomore or junior, somebody who has a little bit more experience playing on that team or whatever, but it's also so surprising that it's been that long.
Yeah, because, I mean, I guess it makes sense that you'd have the rollover each year and have a couple guys that you expect to, fulfill that role. But, yeah, it's still just, when you hear a stat like that, it's like, no, nobody? No point?
Really? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not that I don't believe it, I'm just surprised and shocked and confused.
And to quickly double back, the Commanders
What was that?
That was my child. But yeah, the Commanders.
Okay, it sounded very mechanical for a minute.
Oh, it's
like a toy.
Monitor. No.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense.
I was just gonna say the Commanders have a 1% chance of making the playoffs right now, and I think that was actually before playing Detroit. Yeah, I would say it's probably a real consideration of just keeping Daniels healthy, depending on where he's actually at when he's heals up, and if he's really ready by the end of this season to play a few more games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say nice things about WU, but I can't really do that. But I will not cheer against a particular young player's success or something like that.
I mean, I don't hate the herd unless it affects WVU. You know what I mean?
Well, I mostly felt that way until I went to a game and was threatened several times into the stadium, and then it was kind of like, yeah, I just the goodwill is gone.
Oh no.
And so, I mean, without not beating that dead horse, it was just like, yeah, I no longer have even the, oh, we're in the same state vibes. It's like, yeah, this not good vibes. The vibes are bad. So, yeah, I will say, but I mean, like, at this point, I'm more or less just ambivalent. But yeah, just, if nothing else, for gimmickry, I will probably never say anything nice.
All right, so let's talk about the games. Week 9 and 10. Week 9 and 10. I will say that the Ravens didn't disappoint me 2 weeks in a row.
There you go.
Like, so last week when they played the Dolphins, they actually, like, performed well. Like, they beat them 28-6. Like, it was actually, like, I was surprised. I was like, they're gonna piss me off so bad. Like, they're gonna be in the lead for a while, and then they're just gonna totally shit the bed, and they're still gonna lose, and then they didn't.
The Ravens have been weird because they're a team that I assumed was going to be very good this year, but then, of course, Lamar gets hurt. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing is, when you have your quarterback, you're going to have a little bit more consistency, especially when you have an MVP quality one like him. So I guess I'm not too surprised things have started to, course correct, and that they beat Miami, who is really thinking about firing their coach by the end of the year and all that.
Ooh, interesting.
But yeah, like, it's funny how much of a difference competent quarterback play, or quarterback play you can really trust, does for putting together 2 good weeks of football and all that, which they obviously have. And the Dolphins may be hapless, but you took care of business. Like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I didn't really have anything particular to say about that game other than they won.
Yeah.
And then we had the Colts at the Steelers. So I was in full fuck Aaron Rodgers mode.
My brother and my dad and my mom and my nephew actually went to that game, and yeah, it seemed like, and I kind of touch on it this week talking about the Colts, but it seemed like once Pittsburgh really was able to actually unleash a lot more pressure on Daniels, things really started to go downhill. And yeah, the Steelers ended up winning, but it really seems like, we're starting to see a little bit of the Daniel Jones that we saw in New York. But that was at least my dad's assessment, was like could not handle the pressure at all. Once the Steelers really started to get to him last week. So, but yeah, we'll touch more on the Colts here in a minute.
And who is Daniel Jones again?
The Colts quarterback.
Colts quarterback. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still learning names. There's so many of them.
Yeah, but yeah, he's the one who struggled in New York, has looked great this year, but kind of my feeling of, when's the old Daniel Jones going to show back up again?
Sure. So the next game on our list, or it would happen the same night as the Colts and Steelers, is the Jaguars and the Raiders, and that game was like a fucking nail biter. But the biggest highlight from that game was that Cam Little made a record-breaking 68-yard field goal. And then my mom informed me that he actually made a 70-yard field goal in the preseason, but because it was preseason, he, didn't get the record for that.
Yeah, it would have been I guess it would be, it's an NFL record, but we don't really count preseason because it's preseason. No pressure. So yeah, I'll say I'm not surprised that he did it. But yeah, it's there is a shot of Max Crosby when the kick went through of him just being like, huh, wow. Like, because it's that far of a kick that, even for an opponent on the field, you're just like, yeah, I can acknowledge that was pretty awesome.
You gotta give it to him.
Yeah, I would say that was just how I interpreted the look he gave. It was just like, huh, all right, back out there, but definitely didn't see that. Or
Yeah.
He's got the leg, but still, it's an NFL record for a reason. So it I think that's the thing is in a lot of sports people have the ability to do these things without pressure. It's another thing to do them under pressure.
Yep. And then the Seahawks absolutely destroyed the Commanders because God hates me.
Fair.
Next game. But this is the one that we're actually going to spend a little bit of time talking about because the next game was the Cardinals and the Cowboys. And oh no.
Can we take a quick pause and I'll go check on her?
It sounds like you should.
Alright, hold on.
Alright. This wouldn't be the first podcast that has crying children in the background.
Yes, sorry about that. The joys of parenthood sometimes is making sure that cry is just you're upset it's bedtime, not that something has actually happened.
Yeah.
Which
and
is
that's
fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah, I'm about to say that is how 2.5-year-olds act, and that is just par for the course.
Listen, she's 2.5. Her life is very hard right now.
Yes.
All right, so the game that we are actually going to spend like a minute talking about was the Cardinals-Cowboys game, and it sucks so much because the thing I want to talk about and bitch about was a touchdown made by Marshawn Kneeland.
Well, I would say to maybe allow us a little bit of a degree of separation. What bothers you about a punt block being able to be recovered like that for a touchdown? Why does this vex you?
Okay, so let me set up the whole thing. So there was one touchdown that was made. Listen, I hate the Cowboys, so I'm gonna be mad anytime there's a touchdown. But I was not mad that they made a touchdown. I'm mad at the fact that this one was considered a touchdown when 2 weeks ago we talked about this one that Hawkinson made that didn't count even though the ball was fully under his body. But this one, there was a... You'll be able to explain the technical bits easier, but to me, it was no one had control of the ball. The ball fucking rolled into the end zone, and because he chased it and put his hands on it there, that was a touchdown.
I guess for me, it is just I get that this bothers you, but I guess the way I always look at it as the ball has to get across the line of scrimmage for it to essentially be a punt. When it gets blocked, it is really just a fumble. So for Dallas in that situation, it was more or less just the ball was fumbled by the offense. They recovered in the end zone, touchdown. It was basically never anything but a running play, essentially, and fumble, recovery, touchdown. The classic order. So, but I get why this bothers you in the sense of,
because this isn't fucking soccer.
Just consider it an own goal. That's
your hands should be you should have to bring it to the end zone with your hands or catch it with your hands in the end zone, not fall onto the ground where the ball already is and put your hands on it.
Well, I would just say that's the offense's problem, not the defense's, because offense made the mistake of getting the ball back there. They just made it really easy for the defense to score.
Okay. Can you explain in technical terms exactly how it ended up doing what it did?
Basically,
Like how we got there, because I don't actually know what happened. I just got mad at the result.
basically, simply, when you choose to punt the ball, unlike any other play, you can kick it and where it lands, or return to, you're allowed to turn the ball over by kicking it. It's not an incomplete pass. It's not a run. It's just you've kicked it with your foot. It's now magically allowed to travel downfield. Mm-hmm. So, like we've seen sometimes when someone muffs a punt on the return team, but that's the thing. The ball in this situation never crossed the line of scrimmage. So it was a loose ball situation, I guess. It was a fumble, as soon as it gets blocked, essentially. So at that point, the punt team can't advance, or they can't do anything other than try to recover it and get a first down at that point. But obviously, the ball just got blocked. Nealon falls on top of it in the end zone, touchdown. It's more or less just that when you punt the ball, that's the risk. If you don't get the ball across the line of scrimmage, the defense, has a pretty good opportunity to, do what they want with it. So yeah, I mean, it's just the ball gets blocked, and the defense, just happened to recover this one in the end zone, so they just didn't have to do anything once they got a hold of the ball.
Yeah. I guess.
I think you should just say it was a good thing for Dallas, and that is why it upset you.
But that's not why the reason it upsets me is because it feels so hypocritical when the reason Hawkinson's touchdown didn't count is because he didn't have control of it, when this one no one had control of it.
But that's because when you pass the ball past the line of scrimmage, essentially the only way the play can continue is if you have caught the ball. So while I kind of question that the call they made on that, essentially it was never considered to be caught. So it didn't matter that the ball was in the end zone. What mattered was they ruled that he had never had possession of the ball as a receiver. So, once it's in the air, one of the teams has to catch it to continue the play. If not, the ball hits the ground and the play's dead. So that's the thing, is essentially it's just another incomplete pass. Like, they just ruled that Hawkinson never controlled the ball in such a way that, he could score a touchdown or anything else with it.
I guess.
Next week, I will bring some Barbies from the girls' room upstairs and try to illustrate this better.
And I will walk into my mom's basement and get some of my own and explain why it still doesn't make sense.
I would just say, look at it this way.
I never got rid of mine.
When it's a punt, and especially when it gets blocked, it's just a loose ball like any fumble play at that point. Whichever team picks it up, and they can advance it, and Dallas just didn't have to advance it. When you throw the ball downfield past the line of scrimmage, someone has to catch it to continue the play. And the problem was, for Hawkinson, they ruled that he never caught it. So, it's just, I would say the advantage of, or the disadvantage of a running play is when the ball hits the ground, it is just a live ball.
So, basically, those two touchdowns had different rules because...
Pass versus...
Because one was a pass and one was a punt?
Basically.
So that okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. The episode where you have me try to figure out calls, it's going to be a hell of an episode. Maybe it should be like our first live stream or something.
Yeah, definitely when we actually are ready to do full on video, that would be good. But I would just say that would be the main thing to think is when you throw a forward pass, when the ball is thrown forward, it has to be caught to continue the play. So in the Hawkinson play, it just was never caught. So it didn't matter where he was at. He was in the end zone, but they ruled that it hit the ground. So that the ball's dead. Whereas on a punt, and especially when it gets blocked like that, it is just somebody needs to recover the ball, but the ball is live. Like, the fact that it's on the ground means it's just where it's at. it's
Okay,
not a
so
full.
why can't a punt result in a dead ball?
I think the main idea would be simply that if you could punt the ball without any threat of anything going wrong, really, punts would be too easy. I mean, that's why they line up so far back, is because you have guys running. You just have guys running at the kicker, and you need that much space to hopefully get a punt off. So if you don't have a risk on the play, it would just be a free 50, 60 yards every time for the offense to move the ball, to pin the other team on the other side of the field. Once you make it a live play, or that it's you know it just simply that if you could just punt the ball at ease, it would be easy. It'd be too much of an advantage for the offense to pin the other team every time. And plus, I think it's just a little bit of a throwback to the fact of rugby. If you tried kicking the ball like that in, I guess, a rugby game, like, yeah, if you get hit doing it, the ball's still live. It's that would be my best explanation of it. Is just that you need to have some you have to have some threat of danger when you're kicking the ball, or it would be a really easy job, or it'd be a much easier job. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I I am somewhat satisfied in that things are different when it's a pass play versus a punt. I'm still not totally satisfied with why but like I can accept that those two types of play can have like different rules for how you can score from
Yeah,
them.
I will just say that simply football is quirky in that sense that, unlike almost every other sport where the ball and the play is practically the same in any particular instance, like football, there is a number of situations where it's like, no, 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 well, this hasn't happened yet, so this means, like, well, I mean, it's the same thing of if you throw a pass backwards, it's considered essentially a pitch, like a running play. Like, it doesn't matter that you the quarterback threw the ball to a receiver. It is treated like a fumble because it was a backwards pass. And again, I believe this is mainly because you need to have some threat of things going wrong for the offense. Because if backward passes were called dead, then I mean, yeah, it would. I mean, there'd be no reason to throw them to a certain extent, but also um, like I'm sure there's ways that the offense could exploit that the defense would kind of be unfairly have an unfair advantage if, and I think just simply it's that way when you're pitching the ball, you can't just say, oh, that was a pass. It's just simply, oh no, any ball thrown backwards, that's a pitch. Live ball, it's a fumble. I think some of it ends up being like that. There's just simplicity to just not having to rule whether this was X or Y. It's just the ball is going backwards on the play. It's a fumble at that point. It's you threw the ball backwards. It's a fumble. That's all that matters.
Okay, we're gonna have to put a pin in the whole like backwards pass thing because I feel like that's a whole separate.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole other thing. The next game is the one that Ben has several notes for, it seems, and that's the Raiders at the Broncos.
Oh, sorry, I need to get to them because my brain's not working today. Um, yeah, we're getting back to this week, and I guess that's the thing. The Broncos, we mentioned scoring differential a few weeks ago. It's good to be plus 62 at this point in the year. That being said, Denver has trailed in every game this season. At some point in the game, they have not been the first team to score in any game. And again, like I mentioned to you, if you throw out the Dallas game, if you throw out the Burrowless Bengals game, that scoring differential gets a lot lower. So it's kind of back to I don't know if any of these teams are good, but I also wanted to ask you, when a team wins a close game, but it feels like there's kind of one or two plays that end up flipping it, do you feel like teams get lucky, or do you feel like you should just give credit to the team for finding a way to win? Or like I was saying, is it just that they merely survived? I mean, do you just see it as a win, or do you kind of take it with a grain of salt?
I think that depends on the game.
How so?
I don't know. Like, I feel like it just kind of depends on, like, the whole performance of the game. Like, have you been playing the game like you're just surviving, or have you been playing like you're trying to win, but the other team is just really fucking good and making it hard?
Well, I guess this one felt more like luck to me because it was 10-7. Like, there's no real offense in the game. They did happen to get, a touchdown and a field goal to get ahead, but they've had a bunch of these games where they are behind and they come back, and that's great. And I think that does say something about, some resiliency and, self-belief as far as the team goes. But at the same time, we know that over time, a lot of these things really turn out to be coin flips. One-score games, it's too many things could go wrong for you not to, like, in almost any time you look at a one-score game, it really came down to a couple of plays, and it's very easy to see how that could have went the other way. So I guess I'm very skeptical of the Broncos for that reason. The fact that they've never just, really, they've had some games where they ran up the score, but, like, you've trailed in every game. Like, we're 10 weeks in. How have you not had one game where you just cruise the entire way and never trailed? Like, maybe it's just obsessing over a little bit of a quirky stat, but I just would assume at some point that Denver would not be, barely beating the Raiders, barely beating the Giants, which they've looked a little bit better, but they're still going to be a high draft pick this year, the Giants. So they have these games where they should be putting these teams away, and they're just not. I guess that's why I'm a little bit more skeptical of the Broncos, regardless of some of the personnel they have. It's just, why aren't you just winning some of these games easily?
Because I don't.
What's up?
I'm trying to. Okay, so you were talking about, like, when a game is really close, like, how, like, is it about getting lucky or did they survive? And I was reminded of right before the Nebraska game came on yesterday, I caught the last, like, 5-10 minutes of a basketball game, and I can't remember who was playing.
Well, I can't help you there then.
I think it was Arkansas and Michigan State, which ended 66-69. Nice. And the reason I'm bringing up basketball is relevant because, like, I don't give a flying fuck about either of these teams, but the score was so close that, like, I was riveted for the last, like, 5 minutes that I saw of this game before the game I was waiting for came on, And, like, and with that one, it was so close, and then it was something happened, and Arkansas just kind of, like, handed it over. Like, they kept getting kept making fouls and stuff, so, like, it just kind of handed over a couple of free throw points to Michigan State.
I think
so. That's the kind of game where I feel like the winners got lucky.
See, I would actually argue in basketball, like, where you have to kind of score repeatedly, that in a situation like that maybe not that team is definitely worse than the other, but just that within that game, it's not that you messed up one play, you messed up several, and you ended up, losing by 10 or whatever. Whereas I feel like in football, you can be having a good drive and you just fumble the ball. I mean, it just, to a certain extent, it just happens at a certain point, even to very good ball carriers and all that. So that's why I feel like a one-score game, I guess that's the thing, too, in football, like, you only need a couple, like, in theory, you only need, like, 4 or 5 plays to work a game, like, and you could score 4 or 5 touchdowns. Like, it's a bit ridiculous, but like, you kind of just need a couple things to go right on an extreme example where if you're going to score 60 points in a college game, you've had to do the same thing right. It's still easier to score, but you've arguably had to do the same thing right over and over and over again. So that's why a one-score football game, like, I still think teams are good. I just think that you can't really plan on that being the way you want to win. Like, um, Mike Vrabel with the Tennessee Titans, like, that was kind of his calling card when his first few seasons there, was being able to win those games and close games. Problem was, I felt like that's great in the short term, but you have to develop a way to win games that you're not just hoping to pull them out in close games. You want to be winning by 7-8 points so that you're not always, holding on for dear life, hoping that one play doesn't slip up at the end. I mean, look at the Bears game last week where the Bengals scored late, took the lead, and then
I didn't watch that one because it was on during a different game I was watching.
long story short, I mean, the Bengals scored, went ahead. The Bears had to score quickly, and Williams throws Loveland, and he should have been tackled in the middle of the field, but the Bengals just botch making the tackle, and he ends up scoring on a long play. And it's credit to Williams and Loveland for making the pass and catch, and then Loveland running it in. But at the same time, you run that play over and over, the Bengals are probably making that tackle in the middle of the field, and the Bears have to, run more plays, score the ball. I guess that's the thing for me in football. It is just sometimes one missed play really can cost you the game. You could play near perfect, but one play can be what cost you the game. Where, like I said, in another sport, I feel like you have to do the same thing right so many times that it feels like luck ends up being less of a factor within it. Like, if you get it down close, shots missing, a puck, rebounding, all that, like, yeah, there's a certain luck element to it. But to me, like I said, it's just that there's a certain point where, you've had that many chances and you failed versus, oh, we had one play go wrong, we lost.
Yeah, because, I've watched games where, to bring it back to, football specifically, I've watched games where it felt like, whichever team just didn't even fucking show up until after halftime.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
that's why I feel like it, for me to know whether I feel like they got lucky or just survived or, actually, quote unquote earned the win, depends on how they played the whole game.
Yeah, I think you have to really look at it and, call each one as it is versus chalking it up. But I think, just on the whole, there's just a limit to what you can expect to work and not work in those situations. And if you're never really good enough to avoid those, you're probably at some point going to have that bite you in the butt.
Yeah. All right, so next we have the Falcons-Colts game. That was the next in the series of international games, and this one was in Germany?
Yes, Berlin. I guess just with it, it's kind of back to my general feeling of we don't have any great teams this year. The Colts won 31-25, but I don't think Daniel Jones looked all that great. One TD, one INT, threw for 255 yards, got sacked 7 times. We're not talking about the Colts winning unless Jonathan Taylor rushes the ball 32 times, 244 yards. That's 7.6 yards a carry for 3 touchdowns. He broke off an 83-yard touchdown run. That's great to have these exceptional performances, but if your plan for winning is an all-time sort of game by a player, I'm a little bit more skeptical of how that's going to work. And we've seen 2 weeks in a row now where the passing of the Colts hasn't worked. This week their running worked, but last week Taylor was limited to 50 some yards or whatnot. So, like I was saying, I feel like the Colts beat up on a bunch of bad teams to start the year. They've now played a few good teams and they've had some mixed results. And the Falcons aren't even really a good team, but I'm still going to not believe in Daniel Jones until he's holding up the Super Bowl trophy, and that's unfair, but I did watch him play in New York for like 6 seasons, so I feel like, to me, it's a situation where we were right about Daniel Jones, at least from what we saw on the field. If he has actually become a better player, that's a change in the evidence. Like, that's the thing, the evidence we've had has not been like, oh, he did really well but the team let him down. It's really just seemed like, no, he's had his opportunities. And he was brought into Indianapolis probably to start this year, but I don't think anyone really thought Daniel Jones MVP consideration before the season started. And I guess that's why I still am skeptical of these Colts. Is we're putting a lot of hope in either Jonathan Taylor putting up these phenomenal performances again and again, or we're hoping Daniel Jones doesn't turn into a pumpkin again. Though I still would not bet against the Colts, but I think after their easy schedule to start the season and what is a much harder schedule to finish the regular season, we'll probably have a little bit better feel for if this team is good or if maybe they do have, some inklings of greatness in them. Right now, I still just feel like they're good. And I hate saying that, I should say, because I feel like a lot of people will throw these evaluations of players or teams, and then basically they come down to just, did you win or did you win a championship? And it's like, that's overly simplified, but at the same time, like I said, I think with these Colts, I don't think they have to win a Super Bowl to convince me they're maybe a little bit better than I think they are, but I think they have to weather this second half of the season with less games like this and last week and a few games where they just look like the best team in the NFL. And I don't think I've seen against good competition that they've looked like the best team in the NFL. That would be my argument, is I need to see a couple games where they just look like there's no question that they're going to be the best team in the AFC in the playoffs. And I believe this next one is your game to address.
Yeah. Do you mean the bisexual bowl?
Yes. And I did not immediately catch this joke, so please explain it for anybody.
There's just this running internet joke that bisexuals really like purple, and I am bisexual and my favorite color is purple, so there might be something to it.
I wouldn't argue against it.
And it was the Ravens versus the Vikings, both of which are purple teams. That was the whole joke.
I will say the funny thing about this game was, and I'm a Vikings hater, and they lost, but I think they had 7 false starts at home in this game. Like, that is completely unacceptable. Like, that's not acceptable on the road, but it shouldn't ever happen at home. Like, I would love to see the stat on, like, is there ever been that many false starts or whatnot by the home team?
Yeah, this game was less like the Ravens won and more just the Vikings lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Credit to the Ravens, but there are games where you look at it and it does feel more like a team lost than a team won. And
yeah.
And that may just be in this one that the Vikings did so much to hurt themselves with those penalties and everything. It may not even be that the Ravens did anything wrong. It's just that the Vikings did so much wrong that it feels like they lost it more than the Ravens won it.
Like, yeah, there were plenty of points where even I, as the one not wanting the Vikings to win, was just like, come on, man. Like, are you trying? But that's all I had to say about that one. It wasn't like the most exciting game or anything. It was kind of boring at times. Like, I'm glad the Ravens didn't lose, but it wasn't like the best feeling of victories.
I mean, the last thing I'll say on that is it does just, like I mentioned earlier, the Ravens do look like a much better team when they have their MVP at quarterback. Shocking, but it turns out it's that way.
All right, so how about that Bucks and Patriots game? Was that happening at the same time as the Ravens game?
I believe so, and I want to make sure I get the score on this one. So I'm.
There's too many fucking football games on Sundays.
That's kind of nice sometimes.
Like, I don't know if we need a longer season or just like more days of the week or what. Like, it's hard to keep up with this shit.
It is.
I can only watch one game at a time. Like, I've tried doing that like multiple screen thing. I can't.
You'll learn one day watching enough.
Okay. Listen, like, there's
the Matrix.
The way my ADHD works, like, I can do a lot of things at the same time, but it's hard when the things are too similar, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Like, you need to have
like, I was fully editing an episode of this podcast while watching football games, and I could do that. You know, like, because you don't really need to follow the conversation that the commentators are having.
My beef with this game was less with the result, 28-23 in favor of the Patriots, but it just seemed really, and I don't like Vrabel, or at least I think he was overrated at Tennessee. But
and is this a quarterback?
No. Vrabel is the coach of the Patriots now. Previously was Tennessee. But,
okay.
The Patriots had the ball at the 1 yard line and chose to kneel the ball to get the clock running again, which on one level I get. Like, there was some logic to getting the clock running the clock down, and not leaving a 2-minute drill for Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. But I thought it was pretty dumb when you consider that, one, the Patriots are kind of middling in the middle of the pack when it comes to scoring in the red zone, and the Bucs are pretty good at defending it. But also, I mean, it just simply, I get trying to eliminate a chance for the other team to score, but the Patriots almost didn't score. The only reason they scored was on 4th down. They threw a fade pass, which, not to get too deep into the weeds, but basically that's less than a 50-50 proposition, throwing an end zone fade. Like, everyone, looks at about it, talks about it, makes for good highlights, but it's actually a terrible play call. And obviously you're running more than one route, but the Patriots were this close to going into halftime trailing because I felt like the coach tried to outthink the situation instead of being, this is a low-scoring game, let's just get some points on the board and get ahead. And I just thought that was really dumb because they were this close. Like, is a process issue to me. Like, because it worked out, a lot of people just brushed it away or even call it smart. I just thought you got to 4th and you almost didn't score from the 1 yard line with 2 minutes to go because you thought you were going to outsmart everybody trying to run the clock down in that situation. That's what bothered me, and I'm a Vrabel hater, but I truly think that when you nearly manage to not score, that should not be considered a victory in that situation. You're 1 yard out. It shouldn't have been that big of a problem. But that being said, the Patriots won. Maybe I'm just trying to, nitpick here too much, but I just thought that was really dumb in the moment. And I stick by it because it was this close to not working at all. And instead of running the clock out, they were going to leave. They were not going to score and go into halftime trailing. In what was still a close game, despite the Buccaneers maybe trailing a little bit too much at the end. And they made it closer, but I think that the score is a little deceptive on how this game actually played out. But yeah, just score points. Don't try to outthink everything. Not everything needs to be a analytical decision. Sometimes you just need to put points on the board.
All right, how about... No, I just didn't have anything to add because I don't have much to contribute to when you start getting technical like that.
I apologize.
It's okay. Like the goal is for me to get there. So how about the Dolphins-Bills game?
Um, the
I didn't watch that one.
The Dolphins, again, a team that might fire their coach at the end of this year, are, I think, won 3 games going into this, and they beat the Bills 30-13. The Bills, who maybe were supposed to be a real Super Bowl contender this year, like, just have another game where they kind of inexplicably lose or don't look good, and the Dolphins should be rolling over and quitting. You know, they're terrible. You know, they're. I don't believe they're a good team in any way, and yet here they are. You know, beating the brakes off the Bills essentially in a game that they had no business winning. But I get it; it's a little bit of a trap game. If you're the Bills, you just beat the Chiefs or whatever. But yeah, like, you shouldn't be losing to the Dolphins. I'm sorry, you're a better team than that, or you're supposed to be, supposedly. Now for your game, Lions 44, Commanders 22. Why are you full of sadness?
Because the Commanders shit the bed. Like, they weren't there. They didn't do anything. And like that 22 happened like they were like way behind and then caught up a little. They started to catch up like in the fourth quarter. It was like, why are you bothering to try now?
Yeah, garbage time.
Like, you're not gonna get 20 points in the last 8 minutes of this. Like, I don't care. And if they had managed to turn it around, I would have been so fucking pissed off about it. I think I might have been just as angry as I am now that they lost. They performed so poorly in this game because God hates me.
Fair enough.
This is why I'm glad I am not a one-team kind of person. Could you imagine if I only cared about the Commanders? It'd be a
factory of sadness.
Like, not that the Ravens are amazing or anything, but they at least, you know, keep me off suicide watch. Yeah, no, the game was terrible. Like, and then there were certain things that happened during the game that we don't need to talk about, but I thought were deeply inappropriate.
Well, I will only say, it's impressive to be booed that loudly.
Yeah.
Like, because usually I feel like you're going to get a 50-50 mix.
And it was one thing, it would be one thing if they did it like during halftime, but they fucking took time away from the game. Like, there were plays we did not see happen because we had to move our camera elsewhere. Anyway, I gotta stop talking about that before I get real angry and turn this into an entirely different kind of podcast.
Let's say we'll say
we are not an apolitical podcast, but we are not explicitly political. You know what I mean? Like,
and I would say in a situation like this, I don't think there's much to add to it. I mean, like, even if you were for it, I feel like it would be like, well, I'm disappointed that they booed, and be like, well, we're not disappointed that they booed, and we kind of know why. I mean, like, there's nothing we could say here that most people wouldn't already know or already be set into. If I talked about anything, it'd be like, why did Fox decide this was a good idea on the football broadcast?
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah, I would say not. I mean, like,
actually, no. I was gonna try to like explain why I could understand it, but I don't. Like, him being there is one thing, but anyway.
I only say the last thing. I think maybe if we weren't in the middle of a shutdown, there's a chance that it goes a little better. But with everything going on right now and the optics and everything, that's kind of what.
Yeah.
Let's just throw out the party affiliation and all that. If somebody I was advising was in that situation, I'd be like, I don't think this is going to look good, and I don't think this is going to work out how you hope it will. That would just be all I would say, no matter who it was, like, in this situation, with the facts that we know at hand.
Yeah, okay. Like, Okay. Without getting into anything too deeply, for the sake of anyone who might be listening that doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about, Donald Trump was in attendance at this game. That makes sense. It's a DC team. It's close. I don't think there's anything wrong with him being there. You know, like I will not pretend I don't absolutely fucking hate this man, but I don't think there's anything wrong with him being in attendance at that game, and I don't think there was anything wrong with them, like, chatting with him a little bit. However, given what is happening right now with the shutdown and the starving thousands, millions? I think it's millions of children by stopping SNAP, the optics of doing this thing at this time, real fucking bad.
Yeah, that's ultimately what kind of, like... Who thought this was a good idea? Like...
And, like, I'm sure it was scheduled way ahead of time, so that's probably part of it, but if I were advising, I probably would have canceled this appearance.
Yeah, let's wait until we get the you know, the big political thing out of the way, so that it's just like, oh, the president's here, not, oh, this is all going on right now and the president's here.
Yeah. Okay.
And I guess it's also worth noting real quick, there hasn't been a president at a regular season game since Carter, and probably because, for a lot of reasons, I think a lot of them would get a lot more jeers than they used to, so this probably under most situations is a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
We'll leave it at that before we become the Hammer and Sickle podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so... anyone who is not on the same side as me or Ben politically, because we're not in exactly the same spot, for future reference, we are not aiming to be an explicitly, like, political podcast, but we are not apolitical because there is no such thing. It is literally impossible to be apolitical. However, we will avoid talking party nonsense when we can.
Yeah, and I'm about to say, I mean, my feelings on this for this podcast are like, did they think the timing was great?
Yeah, like, I would question a president of any party deciding to take in a football game during a shutdown. Anyway, the Commanders suck because God hates me. Let's talk about the Rams and the 49ers.
I just wanted to say, 280 yards, 4 TDs. Kind of, 26-42 is kind of being the brakes off the 49ers. And I think it's more or less just showing all these injuries on defense. They've lost Nick Bosa. They lost Fred Warner. They lost their rookie, Mikael Williams. You can't lose 3 guys of that caliber and probably... handle one of the better teams in your conference. Like, I'm not shocked this happened, but I guess 6 TDs is what surprised me. I figured the Rams were going to win. I didn't think they would, effectively double up the other team. Not quite, but, like, it feels like they practically doubled up the 49ers in this one. And
what is the game that's on, like, right now? Because we are recording during a game.
My brain's not working at all. It's Pittsburgh and the Chargers, and it's 12-3. Yeah, it's not pretty, so I don't think we're missing anything.
Yeah, and fuck the Steelers.
And
actually,
we'll save that for another podcast, or unless you
we'll do that in the next one.
All
right, so.
Go ahead and introduce this since you went on your own adventure with this one.
So fun backstory to this one. I have been attempting for this podcast to have a regular segment where I have, like, questions, usually about some, like, rules or explain this quirk of football or whatever. And Ben would, like, explain it in real time. Or if he, like, answered it in our text conversation beforehand, it would just be, like, a rundown of, like, things Ben explained to me this week. And then I had one question for Ben to answer this week, but it got under my skin enough that I, like, started going down the rabbit hole myself. And I wrote literally that here in our notes. And then today I look and there's this big old paragraph where Ben decided to answer the question for me, even though I said I was doing it myself.
I just was excited to help.
I appreciate it. I just thought it was really funny. So my question is, what even is the purpose of the AFC and the NFC? And Ben gave, like, a history lesson here, which is the stuff that I, like, figured out. So it was... The biggest reason that they exist is because you had two, like, competing professional football leagues, and they merged into the NFL. So that's how we ended up with the AFC and the NFC, because they were originally two different leagues. This just happened recently with the UFL.
I'd have to check. I can't keep
Which is not arena football, but it's the other professional football thing. Like, there was, like, the XFL and something else, and then they merged into the UFL. And it's I think it's like summer football. I think that's what it is. Like, it's just football that happens at a different time of year than the NFL.
Yeah.
But it was a similar situation. You had two different professional football leagues that merged into the NFL, and they became the AFC, which is the American Football Conference.
Yes.
And the National Football Conference.
Yes.
Which is very silly that one is national and one is American. Like, those mean the same thing.
Well, I will say, at least from the history perspective, at least this is bringing in the names of the two different ones. So it does sound silly, but at the same time, like, it's...
Right, because it was the AFL and the NFL, and they merged into the NFL with two divisions.
And I'd have to check the exact baseball history, but, at least those were, like, two distinct... conferences for years that didn't even, have interleague play. But yeah, like, for AFL or the AFL and NFL, at least that, I don't mind with the historical holdover that, kind of tells you something a little bit about it. And yeah, and like, I would say the other part of it is that's a little bit of the history of it with the NFL, but also, it just is a little bit of it is just about travel. Because if you have to, if you had to randomly hit up all these franchises each year, you could be traveling a lot. Whereas if you're Chicago and you've got a game against Detroit, a game against Green Bay, and a game against Minnesota, that's a little bit easier to manage than, I guess we're doing Seattle, San Francisco, and, all this year, every year or something like that. So... that's the other half of it. It's just a little bit of logistics.
Yes. Okay. And what I was going to say is that this is actually a pretty complicated answer, because the how did we get to this is a simple answer. The question of, like, what its actual purpose is now is a lot more complicated. So it has a lot to do with scheduling and with, like, regional divisions and stuff. So, like, it does make sense with traveling, because you don't need everybody flying all over the country every week, right?
Yeah.
So they do kind of try to make logistics a little bit simpler. However, that does not explain why the fuck Dallas and Washington are in the same division, because why are they both in the East? Why is Dallas in the East?
I mean, I think that's just history, in the sense of, they always played, and then that's the thing with some of these divisions. Like, ironically, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers used to be in, it was called the Central, but it was effectively the NFC North. And of course, Tampa is not in the North, but they were in the NFC Central. Because the league expanded and they had to throw them somewhere. I think
there's
some of it,
32 teams,
yes.
right? So each conference has 16 teams. So they try to, and then each division is 4 teams. So it makes sense that they don't line up perfectly. But it seemed like that was such a random choice to throw them in there.
No, I think that one was just based on the history of all those franchises and, playing each other and all that.
Did Dallas, was Dallas originally somewhere else?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, like, were the Cowboys originally somewhere else?
No, I think it was just, I'm guessing it was just the flight from Dallas to...
Because, I sat there with a map going, okay, this conference makes sense because they're kind of all in this corner. Okay, I understand this. This one, a little bit wonky, but I get it. But the NFC East is the one that just I don't understand.
I think it was just a little bit of just quickly pulling up like the Wikipedia was just simply, there was no team that far south. Obviously, Texas is a big place that could support something like that, and excuse me. And I think just that's the way it worked out is you're forming these leagues with a few teams, and you naturally are in this country going to get some teams that are just spread far apart.
Yeah. Like the, because, like if you just look at a map of the United States, like a population map, you can see that like most of our population is on the East Coast. Like that, which makes sense for like historical reasons, because most people arrived there and they just didn't bother going too far west. So when you look at a map that shows you where each team is, you have a lot more teams focused on or concentrated on the east side of the country, because it's much more sparsely populated in the west, which is going to lead us to a fun project later that I had an idea for. But basically, I want to do some more research into the AFC and the NFC, and like maybe do a deep dive episode like after the season is over or something about like not just the history, but like what it actually means now. Because like there's like a whole formula for how they schedule games. That's math and shit.
Well, I would say like the simple version is you play your division, you play one other division in your conference, you play one division in the other conference, and then you have a couple more in-conference games against teams with similar record from the year before. And then there's another kind of random game now with week 17 having a week 18. But yeah.
And this is why Washington and Baltimore, even though they are very, very close to each other geographically, one is AFC, the other is NFC, and that's why they don't play each other very often.
Yeah, you're only going to...
Even though we fucking love the Battle of the Beltway.
Yeah, I would say they're only going to play when the divisions meet up, or I guess now there's another chance with the 17th game. But yeah, but that's also kind of the nice thing in some ways.
Or if they both made it to the Super Bowl, lol.
Let's not get silly. But yeah, I mean...
I hope that happens one day before I die.
I would just say to wrap us up with that is the quick answer is history. The boring answer is also logistics.
Yeah. So yeah, I do want to go more into that one day, but I will bring up this project later because I just want you to ponder it for now. Okay, we're going to invent 2 new football teams.
Oh no.
We have to decide where we would put them. It has to be 2, so we can put one in the AFC and one in the NFC, so to keep things even. But, so, think about it. If you were creating a brand new football franchise, what city would you put it in? Don't answer that now. Think about it. It's going to be like an end of the semester project.
On it.
Alright, anyway. So, the real question that I want us to ponder before we wrap everything up. The one I told you is funnier if I don't tell you ahead of time.
Oh, no.
It kind of goes off of our contemplating whether there are any great teams this season, and then, kind of determining, no, there are no great teams this season. So my question is, like, I sat there watching a game that I found really boring, and I just thought, did I pick the worst season to try to get back into football?
No. I would say no.
Or because there's no great teams, did that make it a good season for me to try to get into it?
I think it's better to almost, especially because you seem like someone who is probably going to actually be in for the long haul anyway. I think it's better to come in when things
I do commit to mistakes. Yes.
I think it's much better to actually come in when it's messy, because you're either going to end up actually enjoying it and liking it, as opposed to, it's nice when there's a boogeyman like the Chiefs and all that. That, you know, a couple years ago when it did seem like, you know, to a certain extent, like it was there was little question they would go to the Super Bowl and probably win it those 2 years. Like, it's football, things can happen, but, you know, felt pretty good if I would have bet on it at the beginning of the season. I think the fun thing about years like this is you actually don't know what's going to happen. You know, some of these upsets are just, you know, feel silly or whatever, like the Dolphins winning today, but at the same time, it's not cookie cutter. It's actually worth watching every game if you feel like it. Like, I do think sports are better served most years for casual fans to have that team that's easy to figure out is the best team, but there's something fun about when you don't seem to know the answers to a lot of those questions, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So no, you've picked a great time in my opinion.
Because, like, it was kind of like, yeah, like, okay, my depression notwithstanding, like, my inability to care about most things lately. Like, but yeah, no, like, but in reality, I do kind of like the chaos. Because I was gonna say that, like, in reality, like, having this has actually been really good for me. Like, even though it's hard to care about anything, it's good for me to try to care about something frivolous once in a while. Yeah. And, like, you know, your girl is not handling her breakup very well.
And that's okay.
All right, so I think we are about done here. Anything you wanted to add?
No, other than I don't believe in my Bears. They may be 6-3, but they have a negative points differential, and I keep seeing week after week where they gut it out and win games, but kind of like Denver, where I'm like, I get what the record says. I've also watched these games and I see how they're happening. I know that something's bad's gonna happen soon enough. So I'm enjoying that we'll probably have at least a winning season this year as a Bears fan. But yeah, I do not believe in this team, despite the fact they are leading the division or close to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, they're behind Detroit because of they lost to Detroit. But yeah, long story short, the Bears could actually win their division, but I don't think that will happen.
It's a possibility, but we're not holding our breath.
Pretty much.
All right. So, that's a cat. Hello, cat.
Sorry, it likes crawling across the keyboard.
No, yeah, I get it. So, that is it for this episode. Our first Patreon-exclusive episode is now live. Either right before I post this episode or right after it, I will have a preview of that bonus episode available for everyone. So check out patreon.com/EHMKAY if you would like to join that Patreon and get yourself some bonus episodes where we talk about football movies. Our next one will be about another Disney movie that is also based on a true story. I kind of didn't do this on purpose, but then realized it was a good idea. We're going to talk about the movie Safety, which is inspired by the life of Ray McElrath Bay. There we go. McElrath Bay. It took me a while to figure out how to say his name because my last name is like right in the middle of his. So I was like, is it McElrathby? Like, what is this man's name? But it's about, like, he was in college and his mom was dealing with drugs. So, like, he kind of takes custody of his brother, like, while he's trying to play football for Clemson.
Yep.
And it sounds interesting, and I think we might have a good time comparing it to Remember the Titans in terms of making a PG story about something that's not necessarily family friendly at its core.
Yeah.
But it's also like a family story, so.
Yeah, I'd say I'm imagining it has gotten the Disney coding, but that's probably okay most of the time.
And because it is a much more personal story, I think that's gonna lead me to be a lot more in favor of any, like, sugarcoating Disney did, because it you know what I mean? We'll talk about it when we talk about it. I have only seen the trailer at this point.
Your spoiler for the Remember the Titans one is that yes, we will have some quibbles with history and everything.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. We finally have socials. We are on Instagram, which I am running at SportsPodBallcast. And we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Ben is running that account. I forget what that handle was because SportsPod Ballcast didn't totally fit.
We'll get it. We'll slap it on there somewhere.
Oh, I thought you remembered it since I gave you the information.
I'll do better.
Okay. All right, that's it, everybody. We will see you next week, in theory.
Au revoir, maybe.
Bye-bye. I will... All right, stop recording.